welcome here in our studio in Serekunda. This is Star TV News and I am Emuniji Fadera. In the headlines tonight, Barrow and Maki meet in Dakar as the two heads of states gear up the Presidential Council meeting. Ministry of Health Benefits donated medical items amounting to $10 million from People's Republic of China in preparation against the coronavirus. IOM trains female journalists on migration reporting. On the international scene, WHO declares coronavirus a global pandemic. Ambazonia Group claims deadly attacks in Cameroon. North Korea ramps up missile testing. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The Senegalese head of state, Macky Sall, welcomed his Gambian counterpart, Adama Barrow, yesterday in Dakar. The Senegalese capital is hosting the second edition of the Senegalese Gambia Presidential Council, 2 years after the first one was hosted in Gambia. Jacqueline Colley files in this report.
As a prologue to this meeting, an international ministerial council was held at the King Fahd Palace, addressing issues of trade, the environment, the free movement of people and goods, security defense, but also transport. The objective is to improve in these key sectors to obtain better results in this partnership. Gambia Foreign Minister Mamadou Tangara assures that the review of this cooperation can only be beneficial because a lot of work remains to be done in this field of trade, customs, transport, and they must break down the barriers that stifle the two countries' economies, slow down of developments, and anything that can cause tensions between the two nations. The issue of cutting or trafficking of woods is also on the agenda. The degradation of the environment and of biodiversity also requires us to find concentrated strategies to prevent these such from further aggravating the insecurity of local populations to the point of promoting unemployment among young people and illegal migration, said Abdouba, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese living abroad. He added that in the area of free movement, it is important to work together for the proper implementation of the road transport agreement and also work to facilitate the passage of people and goods at the borders and create the conditions for a perfect movement of the two countries' population in accordance with the commitments within the framework of ECOWAS. The recommendations for the Interministerial Council will be presented in the presence of the heads of state of the two countries. Jacqueline Colley, reporting for Star TV News.
The People's Republic of China on Tuesday donated medical items amounting over $10 million as part of China's efforts to help the Gambia in preparation against the coronavirus. Modo El-Baji attended the event and he now reports.
The coronavirus is rooted from the Hubei province of China and it has halted businesses in most parts of the world, especially in China. The donated equipments are meant to support the Gambia on its preparation in combating the coronavirus when the need arises. The donated items include medicines and 2 vehicles meant to transport the medical personnel to their various posts. The ambassador of the People's Republic of China, Ma Jianchun, said this donation of medical items reflect on the brotherly ties that exist between the Gambia and China.
These materials could truly assist the Gambia in improving the public health capacity, provide health care to more people, and bring to the Gambia public more security and assurance in today's global health situation. Since the beginning of COVID-19 outbreak, the Chinese government put the people's health as its priority and adopted the most comprehensive and strict prevention and control measures. Many of these measures go far beyond the WHO International Health Regulations, the year 2005. At present, the daily new infection case number in China is declining. The number of discharged patients is rising steadily and quickly. With such positive trends emerging, China is even more confident in fighting the outbreak and has full capability and determination in keeping well controlling the outbreak and preventing its rebound. Meanwhile, in a responsible manner of openness and transparency, China has been in closely contact with the international society. WHO, ECOWAS, and many countries all commended the measures adopted by the Chinese government in containing the outbreak.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate, commended the ambassador and his team for the wonderful gesture they have bestowed to the Gambia, adding that China has sent 15 teams to help the Gambia in preparation of the COVID-19.
For the same purpose, and it should be well emulated, and we acknowledge that important fact. The Chinese government has contributed immensely to the socio-economic development of this country, but more so to the health sector, as mentioned by the ambassador. The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital has benefited immensely to the donations of equipment, to the collaboration between the gynecology department of that hospital and that of our sister hospital in China, to the capacity building, training of obstetricians and gynecologists, both here and in the People's Republic of China. Many consignments of equipment and drugs have been received over the period at the EFSTH, at Basay Hospital, and equally at Bansang General Hospital. Ambassador Ma, we want to inform you that all the items you've been providing have been put to very good use for the people of this country. Now we stand here again to show the people a consolidation of our efforts, especially during this coronavirus outbreak. We have partnered with the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to the Gambia in our collective efforts to the containment of the outbreak of the coronavirus disease in China and to the spread throughout the world. We had received very regular updates from Ambassador Ma at the Ministry of Health to give us detailed explanations of what is going on in China currently and what is going on around the world, and also the strategies that are being employed in China are shared with us to enhance our preparedness and to enhance our response mechanisms. And a lot of support had been given also during this period to make sure that the Gambia is prepared just in case we encounter the coronavirus on our shores.
Dr. Samate thanked the People's Republic of China through their ambassador for their relentless effort in helping the Gambia and other parts of the world in the fight against the COVID-19. The chairman of the Select Committee for Health at the National Assembly, Usman Silla, applauded the relationship of his committee and the Minister of Health.
We are very pleased, and I just want to mention the special relations that exist between the two institutions, that is the executive represented by the Ministry of Health and the legislature represented by the Select Committee on Health. And I can tell you, this is a very rare relationship in this country in terms of the executive and the legislature. Here is a committee that really stands by the sector. We've been supporting it in terms of our legislative responsibilities, also in terms of being representatives of the people. And the support is not only, like I said, official, but we are doing it with passion. Every member of the committee supports the sector.
Honorable Silla expressed gratitude to the Chinese ambassador and associated his support to the Ministry of Health. In a similar engagement, Ambassador Majan Chum briefed the media on the current development on the fight against the coronavirus in China, noting that a good number of people have fully recovered from the coronavirus.
As of today's morning, 17,563 confirmed infected patients in China are still in hospital. 17,563. 60,225 have resumed health after receiving proper treatment. The number of discharged patients has been steadily rising, significantly surpassing the number of the people still in hospital. Most of present confirmed cases are within the epicenter Hubei province, and nearly all provincial level regions except Hubei have been keeping the new confirmed cases zero for over 2 weeks. Up till now, 5 of China's provincial level regions are already free from the coronavirus, which means in this region there is not a single infected person anymore. Nearly all provinces have lowered their risk levels thanks to a significant drop of the number of infections.
Ambassador Majan Chum said foreign residents, especially students, are strictly protected in order to avoid the spread of this virus. Reporting for Star TV, I am Modu Elbaj.
The International Organization for Migration, IOM, in collaboration with the Women Journalists Association on Tuesday, organized training for the female journalists on migration reporting. Dado Cham took part in the training and she now reports.
This one-day training workshop has brought together participants from the various media houses, ranging from print to electronic. Fomiko Nagonu, IOM Chief of Mission to the Gambia, has outlined that the voice of the female journalist is a powerful tool when it comes to the issue of migration. Irregular migration, she said, mostly affect young men. She highlights the IOM statistic in which she said most of the returnees are men. 3% of the returning over the 2 years have been women, yet their stories are not captured. Female migration are at more risk when it comes to the sexual exploitation, human rights violation, gender-based violation, and abuse of all kinds, or more so than the male counterpart. Aminata Sane, Secretary General of Women Journalists Association, said it is important for journalists to know how to report on issues of migration, and it is high time that we female journalists to tell our stories in our own way and also to discuss issues affecting us all, she said. She laminated about their voices not being heard, and so being the case, they need to space the environment to tell their own story. She calls for equal right and justice to the issues affecting women in men-dominated field. Who can tell the story of women better than women themselves? She asked. When we talk about irregular migration, there are lots of misconceptions. There is a certain issue that are very critical that women will not usually open up to men when they are talking about this issue, she noted. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
Dr. Ismaila Cisse, a political science lecturer at the University of the Gambia and also a key member Citizen Alliance, explained to Star FM Kacha program how the First, Second and Third Republic operates and their agendas before coming to power. Bintakoli reports.
Dr. Ismaila Cisse said the motive of the first president, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, and all his political opponents was for the Gambia to have its independence from the former colony Britain. While all the political parties that existed after the 1994 change of government have one agenda, which is to fight dictatorship and bring democracy to the country. He went further to indicate that all the parties that emerge or have been in existence since the change of government in 2016 has development plans on their agendas. Talking about Citizen Alliance, a political party that he belongs to, Dr. Cisse reiterates that the party has only an interim leader in the name of Dominic Mendy. He said the party is built on true leadership, making it accessible to candidates who are political minded, know the problem of Gambians and have solutions to this problem. Only then will the party go to Congress and candidates will contest, and the one who people choose will be the true leader of the Citizens Alliance. According to him, the leadership of the party is open for everyone regardless of tribe, religion, age, gender, and destination within the Gambia. He advised that Gambians should not let themselves get deceived in politics again because that might have a great negative impact in the life of Gambians. The political lecturer also advises parents to inculcate values and discipline in their children as that will help greatly in society. According to him, youth should be supported and empowered to work and develop themselves, not to be discriminated in society because they do not have works. For Star TV News, I am Binta Koli.
And now, Denise, beyond our borders, the World Health Organization has labeled the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic and is calling for urgent and aggressive action. COVID-19 has spread to at least 114 countries, with the U.S. declaring a ban on flights from the European Union. Al Jazeera's Navy Baker reports.
This is daily life under lockdown in Italy, people employing patience, protection and distance. All good measures that countries should practice, according to the World Health Organization, but not enough, as they declared COVID-19 is now a pandemic.
WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
What started in China has now spread to more than 100 countries, but 90% of cases are spread over just 4 nations. Iran is one of them, where more than 300 people have died. South Korea is another, where efforts to stop the spread of the virus have so far failed. It seems the world has missed the window of containment. In Italy, the government has imposed further restrictions, closing all stores, bar food shops and pharmacies. This is a crisis not just for the country's creaking health system, but also its economy.
Italy will still remain a unique region. Italy confined, but now we are also closing down all commercial activities except for grocery stores and pharmacies. There is no need to run to buy food in supermarkets.
There's fear too in France as the number of cases creep up. Children still in school are encouraged to wash their hands by the health minister himself, but the virus has already reached the heart of government. The culture minister is infected and 5 others are being tested. President Macron avoided shaking hands as he prepares to move the country to phase 3 of its response, closing more schools and restricting transport. Across the continent, classrooms are emptying. Spain, France and Germany have shut schools in their most affected regions, while Italy, Greece, Romania and Ukraine have sent home their entire student populations. As Germany confirmed its 3rd death from the virus, the government's message was that people must make sacrifices to their social lives to protect the elderly, warning COVID-19 will test healthcare systems across Europe.
We have to understand the virus is here. There's no immunity from it. 60 to 70% of the population could be infected if the situation continues.
In the UK, a health minister has tested positive for COVID-19 and is self-isolating. Despite being in contact with her last week, Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he does not need to be tested. His message is business as usual. And to help, the annual budget promised $39 billion to ward off a coronavirus recession. The WHO says countries still have the power to change the course of this pandemic, but what is inevitable is that cases will continue to climb. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera.
Deadly attacks in Cameroon in the past week include raids on several security checkpoints on Tuesday and an explosion at the Women's March on Sunday. In an exclusive interview, Al Jazeera's Nicholas Haig speaks to the leader of the Ambazonia Defense Forces, who claims responsibility for the attacks.
The moment just before Sunday's attack. Prison guards from a women's jail where armed separatists are locked up are marching. The governor takes to the podium praising Cameroon's government. Then this. Panic as an improvised explosive device detonates. One soldier is killed instantaneously. Scores are injured, mostly members of the security forces. Armed separatists from the English-speaking region claimed responsibility for the attack. They want to break away from Cameroon to create their own country, Ambazonia.
There are more than 20 armed separatist groups active in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon at the moment. Rarely do they make public declarations, fearing they could get detected by Cameroonian security forces. The leader of one of these groups, the Ambazonian Defense Force, has agreed to talk to us.
Don't forget, we are the first country.
Ayabacho Lucas admits his armed group is behind the killings of hundreds of Cameroonian soldiers.
We have a right to existence, we have a right to the protection of human dignity and life. And Cameroon forces are legitimate target because they are the ones perpetrating the crimes against our people.
Human Rights Watch accuses Cameroon's Rapid Intervention Brigade, operating in the English-speaking regions, of killing civilians and burning their homes.
There were people who were burned alive, and many of them were women and children. So there were whole families killed. So I think it's the brutality and in the manner in which it happened. It seems like the way it happened, it was deliberate. It's not just casualties of war.
The force is trained and managed by former Israeli Naval Forces officers stationed inside the presidency. The government deny any wrongdoing. What started off as a peaceful movement against the government insisting on having French teachers in schools in the English-speaking regions has turned into a violent separatist movement. More than 1 million are displaced and thousands have been killed, with many others caught in a spiral of violence. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera.
Stock for the cruise industry have fallen after the Diamond Princess and Grand Princess ships suffered coronavirus outbreaks, infecting hundreds of passengers around the world. In Florida, where several large cruise companies are based, the elderly and those with existing health conditions are being told not to board. Al Jazeera's Andre Galacho reports from Miami.
The Port of Miami is known as the cruise capital of the world, with around 6 million people passing through these facilities each year. It's a huge part of Florida's tourism industry, and one that's been growing until now. At least 5 cases of the coronavirus have been reported on vessels in South Florida, prompting the US State Department to issue new guidelines. The elderly and those with underlying health problems are being told not to take cruises, advice that may last for the foreseeable future. At Brickell Travel Management, staff remain optimistic. Manager Gus Machado says passengers are cancelling their cruises, but the numbers aren't drastic.
I think the media's gotten a little more scaring people away more than it really is. I'm telling you right now, our cancellations are in. I'm not going to lie that, but it's not crazy cancellations. I would say we're down 25, 30% max. So we still have 70% of our customers traveling.
Share prices in the industry have been hit by the crisis, but President Trump says he's committed to providing assistance without going into details.
And we are working very closely with the cruise line industry, and very, very closely. They're taking very strong steps in terms of people going on and going off, but they're spending a lot of money, and they are working very hard, and we're going to be helping that industry.
Cruise lines are now putting protocols in place, including deep cleaning and screening. Passengers disembarking from a recent trip affected by the virus say they felt safe.
They're protecting us. It's all about protecting the passengers. And yes, we were delayed a day, but you know what? It was fine.
And I didn't feel they really took good care of us. It didn't feel nothing too bad at all, really.
Vice President Mike Pence, who's in charge of the task force tackling the coronavirus, has told cruise companies to do more. And with over 150,000 jobs in the industry, the stakes couldn't be higher. Over the next few weeks, around a dozen ships are due to dock here, and authorities say they're ready. There are now plans in place to convert a warehouse into a medical facility if needed. That would avoid the kind of isolation passengers off the coast of California experienced. But the impact on the industry and Florida's economy could be dire. Andy Gallagher, Al Jazeera, Miami, Florida.
North Korea, which has yet to report a single case of the coronavirus, has ramped up production of masks and is urging its people to take preventive measures to keep the virus out. Resident foreign diplomats in Pyongyang on Monday departed the North Korea capital after more than a month under quarantine. And while the outbreak has severely disrupted military operations in South Korea with the cancellation of joint exercise with the U.S., North Korea has conducted short-range weapons tests twice in the space of a week after a lull of 3 months.
It is a country used to being mobilized against a common enemy, and now that unseen foe is the coronavirus. An outbreak could be devastating for a population which is malnourished and with primitive medical services.
Those populations in the countryside where they are really, they have been left on their own with regards to basic accesses.
From the start, it's taken tough measures, like closing its border with neighboring China. Foreign diplomats were put under a strict 30-day quarantine, which has only just been lifted. Many have left.
And there is a certain tension in the city and all over the country because people are aware of the coronavirus.
State-run television has been showing the global impact of the disease and touting the North's success in preventing a single case of the virus as a victory for leader Kim Jong-un, who's depicted as heading his country's efforts. Kim Jong-un has written to his South Korean counterpart expressing his sadness for the way the virus has hit the South. And while the outbreak has disrupted military operations here with the cancellation of joint exercises with the US, for North Korea it seems to be business as usual. Twice in the space of a week, North Korea has conducted short-range weapons tests after a lull of 3 months. Some analysts say it's just part of regular winter exercises, while others add that with denuclearization talks in stalemate, he has nothing to lose by testing. And that it sends a strong message to his own people that with much of the rest of the world grappling with the virus's spread, Kim is firmly in control and appearing to keep them safe. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
And before we end the news, Erica, before main headlines, Barrow and Maki met in Dakar as the two heads of states jet off the Presidential Council meeting. Ministry of Health Benefits donated medical items amounting to $10 million from People's Republic of China in preparation against the coronavirus. IOM trains female journalists on migration reporting. WHO declares coronavirus a global pandemic. Ambazonia group claims deadly attacks in Cameroon. North Korea ramps up missile testing. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you.